Hello, welcome. My name is Bert Lee, and today I'm going to be talking about what vulnerability taught me. This is a part of my story that I don't really talk about. Today's video is gonna be a little bit different. I want to be real. I want to be vulnerable to you. I want to show you my journey of what vulnerability looks like in my life because for a very long time, I wasn't always this, expressive guy who understands my emotions, my feelings, and being vulnerable. It took me a long time to really accept the word vulnerability and really embrace it and introduce it to my life. Because growing up as a Hmong among men, our Hmong culture, we're very patriarchy and masculinity, especially when it comes to husband and wife. The husband is very dominant. The wife, stays home, cooks, like the very traditional American lifestyle, Asian, Western, Eastern lifestyle as well. I grew up watching men, my uncles, my brothers, my dad, not being very expressive with words, but more of like body language, of aggression and drinking. I've seen abuse within my family, not my immediate family, but like my uncles, my cousins. I've seen abuse, I've seen divorces, and I was taught learning up like, okay, I'm a man. I gotta be a man in the household. I gotta show my masculinity. I gotta show who's the top dog. So I wasn't really as expressive, and I started to realize that wasn't really helping me grow because I have two older brothers and I have 5 sisters. My 2 older brothers, even now, they're not as expressive and vulnerable, I believe, as I am today, because I looked at my brothers. I copied them, mimicked them, but I also looked up to my 5 sisters. They took care of me. They groomed me. They comforted me when I was crying, when I was sad, when I was depressed, I was going through breakups. My sisters were there day one, but my brothers were also there too, but they gave me more of a hard advice rather than my sisters. They gave me more of like expressing, finding ways to solve it. Man up, but you can cry. So that took me a very long time to understand that my 5 sisters are a blessing in disguise because they blessed me to be vulnerable. They blessed me to be expressive. They blessed me to understand what a girl thinks in front of their perspective. I wasn't always as vocal, and the reason why I want to be honest is because as we grow, as we go on our personal development journey, we're always learning and growing. And I think vulnerability is the number one thing for you to grow and to become your best self, for you to build your desired lifestyle, and for you to live the life you want is about being vulnerable. Vulnerable with your reality, with your personality, with the person that you're living with your relationships, with your money. Being vulnerable is you accepting your insecurities and your faults. That took me a long time to realize, because I thought that being vulnerable was just all about emotions, crying, feelings. I'm like, I'm a man, I don't need any of that. But I started to learn and accept that, hey, vulnerability are those, but it's more than just that. Vulnerability is you accepting your reality. For example, are you broke? Are you poor? If you are, accept that. Now what you gotta do is work hard. How can you get out of that? Vulnerability. Are you a good husband? Are you a good wife? Are you a good partner? If not, go to therapy. And you know it. Maybe you are the problem. Get it solved. Work on it. Vulnerability. Do you not want to go to school? Then don't go to school. Work your butt off. Pay the bills. Being vulnerable is you accepting your truths that you don't want to accept. Being vulnerable is you being true and honest with yourself. Because it took me a long time to realize that, I wasn't being truthful to myself. And that goes back to me in my relationships. Yeah, I've had 2 relationships, failed relationships. And I never knew why it failed until I healed and I became vulnerable. I had to let my pride and my ego down in order for me to realize why my 2 relationships didn't work out, why we butt heads, why our communication styles were different. So being vulnerable with myself, I learned that, hey, I was actually very insecure about attention. I needed validation that I was their boyfriend. I needed validation that I was a good boyfriend. I was a good person. Why? I have no idea why. But that was an insecurity I found out and I discovered and I identified after I've healed by allowing myself to be vulnerable. And the reason why I feel like I needed to be validated as a boyfriend, as a good person, is because this whole time as a Hmong son, my parents always say, be a good son in front of your in-laws, in front of your uncles, your cousins. Always be a good person. Fake it, fake it, fake it, be a good person. So every time I dated, I always pretend to be, I'm a well put together person. I have an education, I have money, I have a car, I have a home. I'm a good person. My resume, nothing can go wrong. But as soon as you date me and you get to know me, I'm like so insecure, I'm broken, I'm not structured. That paper is just a piece of paper. And I realized that. And then I'm like, that is not healthy. But all that took years and years searching through Google. I didn't go to therapy, but I did hire a life coach. And oh my goodness, a life coach, he helped me so much in so many ways. I encourage you, either, seek a therapist, not for, mental health, but just for growth. And also seek for coaches. A life coach is also amazing alternative too, not an alternative, but it's also an amazing collaboration and partnership. So I hired a life coach and I learned so many things about myself. But going back to vulnerability, I've learned that, hey, I need to be more open about myself. I need to take this resume of myself down. I need to stop talking about that. I need to promote myself in a different way where I'm real. But before I even get there, I need to learn how to love myself. I need to understand my insecurities. Also understand my parents' insecurities. So that when I hear their reasonings and their pressures on me, I don't get, easily tied into what they believe in and I get hurt. But if I understand them and I also understand me, then there's less of a collision, but more of an understanding and boundaries. Important people, boundaries. So vulnerability taught me a lot about letting my ego down, my pride down, and now I'm more expressive than ever. When I feel like something's wrong, I express it, right? When I feel like I don't like something, I express it. When I feel like my emotions are too high, too low, I express it. But here's the thing that I want to say for those of you who are going through your personal development journey and you are learning more about vulnerability in yourself, do it correctly. Because sometimes you being vulnerable is also toxic. Here's what I mean. When I know that something's not right, I don't like something in a relationship or friends, I express it. But I don't go up to the face and be like, yo, I don't like the way you're doing that. I don't like it. I don't say it like that. Being vulnerable also allowed me to learn how to communicate effectively, how to communicate in a way where it works for me and the people that I'm talking to. So for example, if I have a problem with my friend, I wouldn't just go up to him and say, hey, yo, we have a problem here, man. I don't like you. I don't do that anymore. I will instead say, hey, can I talk to you about something? I'm starting to notice that the way you're acting, the way the situation is happening, I'm not feeling comfortable. And I know that this might come off like I'm blaming you, but I'm not trying to make it that. I want to make sure that we both come to an understanding of why we both are acting like this, because I'm coming from a direction where I feel uncomfortable. And if you don't feel like it, that's understandable, but I feel like this. What can we do? And if that friend is understanding, then they will be like, oh, bro, I'm sorry that you feel like that. I'm sorry I came up like that. Yeah, let's work it out. A good friend would do that. So by being vulnerable, it allowed me to communicate things and rethink my wordings, rephrasing my wording. I'm gonna be honest, it took me a long time to learn all of these phrasing techniques, these psychological thinking of not always blaming the other person, even though they are the problem. But it's not always best to blame them, because you blame them and that escalates the situation. But instead of blaming them, you bring it to we situation that makes that person feel less threatened. That's how you solve a problem without creating a fire any more than it should be. So that is vulnerability for me. What I've learned is I've learned to let my ego down, my pride down. I've had two failed relationships because I wasn't as understanding. I had insecurities. I needed validation. But all of that is in the past. People do grow and people do change, because I did change and I did grow. And I believe that all the people that I've met in the past that are no longer with me now, I believe they've grown too. Right? Because the older we get, the more our minds change, our perspectives change. And the more you allow vulnerability into your life and being expressive, the more confident you become. Because if I hear somebody being vulnerable and they're doing it right, I look at that person and I'm like, wow, you are so confident. You're able to talk about your traumas, your past so confidently that it makes you brave and bold. You see, sometimes vulnerability makes you brave and bold. So that was my confessions and my vulnerability for today's video. Thank you for listening. If you resonate with what you just heard, share with me what your story is, or what you think of vulnerability and what you're going through, what your version is, in the comment section. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to press the like button and subscribe.